When you're scrolling through Amazon, the pictures of a sleek, wall-mounted electric fireplace look like the perfect upgrade for a blank living room wall. The problem is, a lot of those glossy shots hide the fact that installation can feel like a DIY nightmare, and the heat they actually throw off often falls short of what you need on a cold night. That's why I'm doing this deep dive before you click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the category itself. Modern electric fireplaces promise two things: instant visual coziness and supplemental heat without the mess of real wood. Over the past few years, manufacturers have been adding Wi-Fi, voice control, and a menu of flame colors to make the units feel more like a lifestyle gadget than just a heater. The Touchstone Sideline Infinity Pro sits at the high end of that trend with a three-sided, 72-inch design that's meant to be built into a wall rather than perched on a mantle. Who actually benefits from that kind of setup? If you have a dedicated media wall or a custom home theater, the three-sided view can become a focal point that changes color and intensity with the mood of the room. Families who want a fire element in a bedroom or playroom without worrying about logs or a chimney will also appreciate the clean look. On the flip side, if you're renting, or you only have a single wall that isn't structurally ready for a built-in unit, this is probably not the right choice. The whole thing weighs enough that you'll need to make sure your studs can support it, and the installation instructions make it clear you should measure twice before you cut. The first thing I noticed after the box arrived was the packaging. The unit is boxed in a way that protects the glass and the internal electronics, but you still have to unpack 3 heavy panels and a fairly sizable control hub. The included mounting hardware is solid, but the real work begins when you line everything up with your wall studs. I spent about an hour aligning the 3 glass panels, drilling the mounting brackets, and making sure the wiring could reach the power outlet without looking like a spaghetti mess. If you're comfortable with a drill and a level, you can probably handle it yourself. Otherwise, budgeting for a professional installer is wise. Once it's up, the visual impact is immediate. The three-sided view means the flames are visible from multiple angles, which is a step up from a single-panel unit that only looks good from one side of the room. The flame simulation itself is surprisingly realistic. 6 different flame colors let you go from a gentle amber glow to a deep blue that mimics a winter fire. The downlighting adds a soft wash to the floor or carpet, which is great for movie nights or when you just want a low-key ambience without turning on the main lights. Now, the sound. Touchstone includes a built-in Crackle speaker that mimics the comforting pop of real wood burning. I tested it on a quiet evening, and the crackle was audible but not overpowering, blending nicely with the visual effect. For people who love that auditory cue, it adds a layer of immersion. However, if you're sensitive to background noise, you can dial the volume down or mute it entirely via the app, which brings us to the smart side of the product. The Wi-Fi connectivity is handled through a straightforward app that works on both iOS and Android. After pairing the unit, you can switch flame colors, adjust the down lighting, set a heating schedule, and even ask Alexa to turn the fireplace on or off. In my experience, the app was responsive most of the time, but there were a couple of moments when the unit didn't register a command until I refreshed the app. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth noting that you're adding a layer of complexity that can be a little finicky if your home network is already crowded. Heating performance is the other major factor. The Sideline Infinity Pro offers a 1500-watt heater with a secondary 750-watt low heat mode and a thermostat that lets you set a target temperature. In a 300-square-foot living room, the unit was able to raise the temperature by about 5 degrees after an hour of continuous operation. That's enough to take the edge off a chilly evening, but don't expect it to replace a central furnace in a larger space. The thermostat is accurate, but the heat distribution is most effective when the unit is centered in the room. Placing it off-center can create a noticeable warm spot right in front of the glass and cooler zones elsewhere. From a practical standpoint, the biggest trade-off is the upfront cost versus the long-term benefit. You're paying for a premium look, smart features, and a 3-sided glass pane, which puts the price point higher than a single-panel, plug-and-play unit. If you're after pure heat, a simpler heater would be cheaper. If you want a visual centerpiece that can double as a modest space heater and you're comfortable with the installation, the price feels